Will the clerk please call the roll?
Vice Chairwoman Omarosa.
Here.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Here.
Freeholder Tonelli is absent. Freeholder Voss.
Here.
Freeholder Zur.
Here.
Chairwoman Ortiz.
Here. Evidence of a quorum is present. Everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Freeholder Sullivan.
Thank you. Please honor me to join America. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh,
Honor me in joining America.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Please
Join
join
me
me
in
in honoring
honoring
America. Can you please fix that in the minutes, Skip? Thank you. I apologize. One of those days.
Sorry for laughing.
My wife's face is laughing.
What's cute? It was.
Will the clerk,
Chairman, I think that the gentleman is asking for a motion to correct the minutes.
Do I need a motion for that?
You do.
Can I have a motion, please? I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'm willing to make the motion.
Thank you, David. Second.
will the clerk read the minutes to be accepted?
The minutes to be accepted are June 5th, 2019, public session, all present. June 12th, 2019, work session, all present. June 19th, 2019, public session, all present.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Move the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll now have the hearing of the general public with the 3-minute time limit in effect in accordance with Bergen County Freeholder bylaws. The board attorney will keep the time. When the time of the speaker expires, the board attorney will announce the time has expired. Please fill out the slip of paper with your name, address, and general topic you wish to speak about. Okay. Kathleen Salva?
Good evening. Dr. Sarah Hackensack. Can I get 3 minutes? I have two topics. Does that mean there's not a lot of people here? And we two of them are very
3 minutes.
I don't, it's hard to get here. I think the last time I was here, Battley Huddle was here, and it was a long time ago. Anyway, my first topic is the grounds around the courthouse, which I call the courthouse campus. And I do live in the neighborhood, but I'm not speaking as a Hackensack resident. I'm speaking as a Bergen County resident. And I think it's very embarrassing to look across the street and see all those commercial vehicles and to see what kind of condition that corner is in. When on this side of the street, everything is landscaped nicely, the flowers in front of the trees are beautiful, the grass is clean, and then I look and see that eyesore. Is there any way that we could screen that so it has some kind of curb appearance? Because we are the county seat, and people do come here for XYZ reasons, and it just pulls your eye. It's really bad. Could we put the fence back? Can we put trees in front of it? Can we just sort of hide it so it looks like it belongs to this side of the street? I have a problem with that. I also monitor the lights in the neighborhood. I do the park across the street. And at your Veterans Circle, which is on the other side of the building, there's a couple of spotlights that have a tree right in front of them so that we're not getting benefit of the light, and it's very dark and dangerous there. And they did replace the LED lights in the front that do the courthouse. So it's ironic that we have all this beautiful indirect lighting on the roof, where aesthetically it's nice, and down below, where it's a safety issue, it's dark. So if you go out, if you leave tonight and it's dark, check out those 2 big spotlights that the tree is grown right in front. So I don't know if the spotlight came first and then came the tree, but they've been like that for a couple of years. I made a couple of comments, and people tell me they're doing something, and it hasn't been addressed. So I think that those are those things that should. So is that my first 3 minutes for the first topic?
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, so, all right, and I don't know if you know why the salt is there, because when the DPW moved from Dubisky Street to Paramus, they need the salt closer here so they could do the towns that are going, which are, that way, south, I should say. So that's why it's there. It's important to when it's those. And then we also did share services, so City of Hackensack is now putting their salt there so that we could use one area to house both salt sheds. But if we go back, when that land was switched, when the homeless shelter was supposed to be there, and we switched land and it was supposed to go, and we went on the other side, that was supposed to be put back on the tax rolls. So, it's up to you. I mean, it's a good use right now, but it needs to have some curb appeal. It's embarrassing. So that's my first issue. Okay, so next time is, I don't know how you guys work. Anyway. Okay, thank you. Okay, my second issue is the LGBTQ that,
Ma'am, we only had 3 minutes.
okay, I
per
can't have
person.
two topics?
No.
Well, then I
You
would've
can
taken.
have two topics just in the 3 minutes.
Oh my God, I don't talk that fast. I'm from New Jersey, but I don't talk that fast, even though there's not a lot of people here. Okay, I'll have to come back on this one? I don't know if I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Cameron?
Hello, my name is Brian Cameron. I'm from Lodi, and my topic is immigration. And I was just reading this book. It's the Anti-Federalist Papers and the Constitutional Convention's Debate. And this little passage I'm about to read, it's by this guy called Governor Morris. And he actually, like, when you look at the original documents of the Constitution and that handwriting you see right there, that's his handwriting because he penned the Constitution. And this is what he said on citizenship for immigrants on August 9th, 1787. Governor Morris, the lesson we are taught is that we should be governed by reason and as little by our feelings as possible. What is the language of reason on this subject? That we should not be polite at the expense of prudence? There was a moderation in all things. It is said that some tribe of Indians hospitality so far as to offer strangers their wives and daughters. Was this a proper model for us? He would admit them to his house, to his table, would provide for them comfortable lodgings, but would not carry the complaints so far, but did not choose to make priests of them. He ran over the privileges which immigrants would enjoy among us, though he should be deprived of that of being eligible to the great offices of government, observing that they exceed the privileges allowed to foreigners in any part of the world, and that every society, from the great nation down to the club, had a right of declaring the conditions on which new members should be admitted. There could be no room for complaint. As to the philosophical gentlemen, those citizens of the world, as they call themselves, he did not wish to see any of them in our public councils. He would not trust them. The men who could shake off their attachments to their own country can never love any other. These attachments are the wholesome prejudices which uphold all governments. Admit a Frenchman into your Senate, and he will study to increase the commerce of France. An Englishman, he will feel an equal bias in favor of that of England. It has been said that the legislators will not choose foreigners, at least not improper ones. There was no knowing what legislators would do. Some appointments made by them provide that everything ought to be apprehended from the cabal's practice on such occasions. He mentioned the case of a foreigner who left this state in disgrace and worked himself into an appointment from another to Congress. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Stella?
I'm Jean Stella Closter. It's been a rough week. I've been in Hackensack. This is my second time in Hackensack. I went to the mayor and council meeting about the resigning of the Board of Education, the woman on the Board of Education. And it was actually kind of shameful. They did not stand up at all. And then I went to Gottheimer's town hall, and he also didn't answer questions. One of my questions was read. I felt lucky, but he didn't answer it. He talked around it and didn't answer it. I'm asking you to please end the ICE contract. I feel complicit. I live in Bergen County. You're my legislators. I trust you to do the right thing. And I mean, it's time. It's not the right thing. Just because we're only complicit 472 people and $17 million, it doesn't mean we're not complicit. Internment is lucrative. The more beds that are provided and we give them capacity, it's going to continue and continue. I do realize that it costs more to run the jail, but at some point, if the jail is not needed for people from here, I mean, can't we do something? Can't we stop taking this money and being complicit in these policies? You have all, I'm sure, seen the news this week. You know what it's like. You know what you've seen people desperate. And you're hearing, I heard on the radio today that we provide adequate care for pregnant women in the jail for, it's an immigration prisoner, basically. It was just on today. When are we gonna end it? I mean, can't we just make a step to say we'll end the ICE contract, that we don't need their blood money? We can, we're not providing some wonderful place. They're not going to a camp. They're going to prison. I mean, it's a jail. It's not a place where human beings should live. And what did they do to deserve that? And we're now funding ICE even more. And why are we taking their money? I live here, and I feel complicit in these policies. I don't know what to do. I don't know how many times to ask. Someone stopped me on the way out and they said, well, like a virus, maybe eventually you'll have to treat me, because I keep coming, and I will come every 2 weeks and I will ask you for the same thing, because it's not right. It's not right what we're doing to these people, and we shouldn't be complicit. It's internment, and because our internment camp is nicer than internment camps in other places, that's not an excuse. And I ask you to end the ICE contract, and I ask you to do it now. And in the meantime, while you're working with the immigrant rights groups, that you put the money in trust and not put it into the general pot for Bergen County. Thank you.
Thank you. Corinne Murphy.
Hello, Corinne Murphy, Bergen County. First of all, I want to thank the Freeholders for giving Park Ridge open space funding. I know Sullivan was there. My family has been really enjoying the new basketball court that's in town, so thank you very much for that. On a more negative note, I want to know why my Freeholders aren't speaking to advocates and elected officials in California that have ended their ICE contracts. Talking to First Friends is not enough. First Friends' mission statement right off their website is to visit these immigrants who have no one else to visit them. These immigrants are not near their families. Every time you make a bed here in our jail for an immigrant, there's more space made in terrible places where children, including where children are in cages. Those parents are going in one place that's horrible, and those children are going in those cages. Stop being complicit in the contract. About a month ago, a person came to this meeting stating that he was in the Bergen County Jail for committing a crime. He is a citizen. He talked about how horrible the jail was and how he was dehumanized, even worse than the immigrants. Well, the immigrants aren't having any great shakes in our jail either. Let's talk about it. The immigrants, as well as the regular prisoners, are eating gross food. We use the same food vendor as Essex County Jail that our jail gets commissions on, and this vendor was audited for moldy food that was found at the Essex County Jail. We're using that same food vendor. The Bergen County Jail air conditioning broke, and 4 inmates had some sort of heat exhaustion. I'm not sure if they've been treated. Let's talk about the mumps outbreak. Let's talk about the prisoners sitting in isolation. My Freeholders are supporting these contracts through the budget. That's what you're doing. I understand that the sheriff signs this contract, but there's no reason that my Freeholders can't talk to Freeholders in other states and in other counties that chose to end their contracts. There's absolutely no reason that you can't do that as a citizen, as a Bergen County resident, or as a Freeholder. You work directly with the sheriff. You can show him your findings or have him speak to them as well. There's no reason why you can't do that. I went to the Bergen County Jail budget meeting, and I spoke to you about this there. Our sheriff went on and on and on about how the jail was his playground. He talked about how he did not need a lot of money for construction in the jail because the inmates do all of the work. Not one freeholder raised their hand and asked how much those inmates were being paid for the work done in our jail. I understand that my freeholders do a lot of good. I witnessed all the good you have done, including open space funding, including supporting Pride Flag months. But what you're doing is wrong. Stop being complicit and do the right thing. Thank you for your time.
May I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Will the clerk read the resolutions on the consent agenda?
The resolutions on the consent agenda are 697-19 through 738-19. Resolution 725-19 and 731-19, following the work session, are now amended.
Will the attorney please state the reason for the noted changes?
Yes, upon examination in the work session, non-essential typographical changes were discovered and will now be removed.
May I have a motion to accept the resolutions on the consent agenda as read by the clerk?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chairwoman Amoroso.
Yes.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Yes.
Freeholder Tonelli is absent. Freeholder Voss.
Yes.
Freeholder Zur.
Yes.
Chairwoman Ortiz.
Yes.
With 6 ayes, the consent agenda is accepted.
Are there any resolutions non-consent pulled or tabled?
There are none.
We will now go into our ordinances for first reading and introduction. Ordinance 1921 and 1922. Will the clerk read ordinance 1921 by title only?
Ordinance 1921 is an ordinance of the County of Bergen authorizing and approving the entering into execution and delivery of one or more improvement lease agreements and equipment lease agreements, each by the county and the Bergen County Improvement Authority, providing for the financing of the costs of design, acquisition, construction, and installation of certain capital infrastructure improvements and acquisition and installation of certain capital equipment in, by, and for the county as set forth in the 2019 capital budget for the county, appropriating not to exceed $60 million therefore, and authorizing other necessary action in connection with said financing.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1921?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chairwoman Amoroso.
Yes.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Yes.
Freeholder Tonelli is absent. Freeholder Voss.
Yes.
Freeholder Zur.
Yes.
Chairwoman Ortiz.
Yes.
With 6 ayes, 1921 passes first reading.
Will the clerk read ordinance 1922 by title only?
Ordinance 1922 is a guarantee ordinance securing the Bergen County Improvement Authority's county guaranteed revenue bonds, Northern Valley Regional High School District Valley Program School Acquisition Project in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,200,000.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1922 read by the clerk?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Amoroso.
Yes.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Yes.
Freeholder Tonelli is absent. Freeholder Voss.
Yes.
Freeholder Zur.
Yes.
Chairwoman Ortiz.
Yes.
With 6 ayes, 1922 passes first reading.
We will now go on to the ordinance for the second reading and adoption of ordinance 1920. Will the clerk read ordinance 1920 by title only?
Ordinance 1920 is a bond ordinance providing for various departments of public safety and Division of Public Safety Operations capital improvements for the County of Bergen, appropriating the aggregate amount of $5 million therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,761,500 bonds or notes of the county to finance part of the cost thereof. The proof of publication of the ordinance notice of public hearing was published in accordance with the law and is on file in my office. A copy of the notice of hearing and ordinance number 1920 was duly posted pursuant to NJSA 40A:2-17 on Friday, June 21st, 2019.
May I have a motion to open the hearing on ordinance 1920 to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is open with a 5-minute time limit in effect to speak about ordinance 1920 only at this time. The board attorney will keep the time. May I have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 1920?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any board discussion on ordinance 1920?
Chairwoman, just to reiterate, this is a $5 million bond ordinance for the purchase and installation of a trunked radio system, related radio communications equipment, and various information technology equipment for the Department of Public Safety and Division of Public Safety Operations, and this is part of our long-term capital budget plan.
Thank you, Freeholder. May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1920 as read by the clerk?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Amoroso.
Yes.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Yes.
Freeholder Tinelli is absent. Freeholder Voss.
Yes.
Freeholder Zorc.
Yes.
Chairwoman Ortiz.
Yes.
With 6 ayes, 1920 is adopted and passes second reading.
We will now have the Freeholder Committee reports. Guess I'll start with Freeholder Voss.
Okay, that's good. I want to say congratulations to all the graduates. This has been a very, very busy season. One of the graduations that I attended was for Project Literacy. It generally isn't a graduation, but it's when adults who have not been able to read finally attain their goal of being able to read. We have kind of a coming up ceremony for them, and congratulations. Tomorrow, some of them will be taking their thank you. My teacher voice, okay. Some of them will be taking their GED tests, and hopefully then they'll be able to pursue more education. This month, we also had Caribbean American Heritage. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean? And we're trying to really be very inclusive of all the wonderful groups that live here in Bergen County. One day last week, there were 4 graduations, and of course, everybody couldn't make every graduation, but the academy, the technical school, the vocational school, and the school that many young people who are in high school are getting their high school diplomas and also an AA degree. And the first class graduated this past June. Some of us attended an Irish festival on Sunday. It was certainly a hot time for all of us. But being a history teacher, I just have to do some things. You know, people come up to me and say, like, what is the 4th of July? And I'm like, what? And I go, it's Independence Day. And they go, independence from what? And I said, from England. And it's a very interesting month for those of us who love this country. June 14th was Flag Day, and that was a day that, you know, we're all supposed to show our flag and show how much we love this country, because our flag was adopted on June the 14th in 1777. And then a very important Independence Day is June 19th. Now, for a long time, a lot of people didn't know what Juneteenth was. But a lot of people were aware that in 1863, Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which theoretically freed the slaves. But it didn't. It didn't really free anybody. And finally, when the war ended in 1865, on June the 19th, a member of the military went into Galveston, Texas, and said, "You're free." 2.5 years after theoretically people were free. Nobody in Texas told anybody about, you know, being free until the war finally ended. And so that is a very important, I think that someday it's going to become a national holiday. But our Independence Day is very important because it celebrates, and I used to teach this, and I certainly won't read you the whole thing, but there are 2 very important documents that everybody should be aware of and reread. One of them is the Declaration of Independence, and the other is the Constitution of the United States, both of which only take a few minutes to read. And one of the most important passages in the Declaration of Independence is, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And I wish people would repeat this to themselves, because there are a lot of people on both sides of the fence that don't want people to be able to live life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Anyway, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful 4th of July. Remember what it's all about. Go out and support your community and the parades and enjoy the fireworks. God bless.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Sullivan?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'd just like to touch on shared services again. Tonight, the board passed Resolution 712-19, a shared service agreement with Washington Township for intersection improvements and signalization project at Pascack Road in Washington Avenue. Also, Resolution 734-19, which is revenue-producing shared service agreement between Bergen County Medical Examiner's Office and St. Barnabas Medical Center to provide forensic pathology training for pathology residents. Once again, these agreements are at the core of the savings that Bergen County continues to provide to its residents. At the last public meeting, I announced that I had nominated former Bergen County Sheriff's Officer Jeff Keenan to be a recipient of Congressman Gottheimer's 5th District Hometown Hero Award. Tonight, I am proud to say that Mr. Keenan has been chosen as a hometown hero, and he will receive his award this Monday, July the 8th, at the Hometown Hero Ceremony at Felician College. Also on June 28th, New Jersey Labor Commissioner Robert Asalo and Agnello announced that the United States Department of Labor has awarded New Jersey $1.7 million a year for 3 years for the Apprenticeship State Expansion Grant. The New Jersey Office of Apprenticeship will use the funds to further develop and create new earn while you learn opportunities here in the state of New Jersey. Noteworthy is that the Bergen Community College will receive funding for their health care programs along with its partners, New Jersey Council of County Colleges and CVS Health. And also this past weekend, I attended and was the keynote speaker at the SEIU 32BJ training graduation ceremony. This fund works in conjunction with the community colleges and employers to allow union members to take various continuing education classes in order to further themselves in their workplace or their personal life. I witnessed members graduating from classes that made them fluent in English, to various trades and skilled labor, and citizenship in the United States of America. It was an honor to be there to tell my story of how labor gave me so many opportunities to do more for myself and others. It was really a warm feeling watching individuals that have struggled and who have come over to 32BJ does porter work, healthcare workers, supervisors, things of that nature. And to see them take advantage of the programs offered by their union was phenomenal. It betters them, it betters their families, and it betters everybody here. So kudos to 32BJ and their members, and that concludes my report. Thank you. Oh, happy 4th of July, everybody. Thank you, Freeholder.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Gans?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Tonight, my colleagues and I approved Resolution 703-19, a $500,000 grant from the Community Development Block Grants, the Bergen County United Way, and Penwall Corporation, which saw $500,000 to go for the benefit of Fair Lawns housing and development. This shows a marvelous example of something that occurs when Democrats and Republicans learn to work together. The origin of the block grant is with President Richard Nixon and later Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. It's a program that is the largest program of its kind anywhere in the world. Another one of the CDBG programs was in Allendale, also with low-cost housing involved, and several freeholders joined me in opening the conference center and seeing firsthand where all this worked. Finally, we had a reentry program at Mount Olive Baptist Church that was attended by Chairwoman Ortiz, County Council Niels, and several other freeholders. The surprise visitor was former Governor James McGreevey, who gave a wonderful speech that really shows what the benefit of the reentry program is. That concludes my report, Chairwoman, except to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Zer?
Thank you, Chairwoman. And just to piggyback off of what Freeholder Gantz said, I just want to congratulate Freeholder Ortiz and Julian Niels for being honored by the Reentry Corporation and for all of your hard work that you've done to ease the path of those who are putting their lives back together. And I just want to also thank all of you on this board for continuing to do the work that we do to make sure that individuals with mental illness and addiction are treated like there's an illness, not only like they're a criminal, and that they are incorporated back into our communities with dignity. And so congratulations to both of you. As we move to now waving our American flags next week, we are putting away the pride flags that we have raised and waved throughout this county throughout the month of June. And I just want to give a very big shout out to the 12 towns, 7 for the first time, and I'll give half credit to Waldwick, who posted a flag, and to half credit to Ramsey, who did a celebration but didn't raise a flag, but to all of these communities for putting the energy out there to, as Council President Schoenberg said in Oradell, to extending the welcome mat, to making sure that every single member of our community, whatever their sexual identity is, whoever it is that they love, know that they are welcomed, embraced, and respected in our communities. So to Englewood and Lyndhurst and Rutherford and Ridgefield and Oradell and Leonia, thank you for joining the Bergen County and Newbridge Medical Center and our community college in raising the pride flag and in sending this message. It is especially important for our young people and those who are struggling to know that their communities embrace them for who they are. And to that end, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we are doing our 2nd annual Youth LGBTQ Summit on October 10th at Bergen Community College. If any students who are interested want to call my office to make sure they can register or reach out to their GSA advisors. We had 210 kids from 29 different schools in 43 towns last year together and making sure that they felt that embrace from our county, and they had this opportunity to exchange ideas, to understand what each other was going through, and to really feel warmly embraced by all of us. So thank you to all of my colleagues who attended so many of these flag raisings over the last couple weeks. It really, I think, was a meaningful expression by so many of our towns. As Freeholder Voss touched upon, we attended graduations. I picked the lucky straw of getting to be at the Applied Tech graduation. This was our first class to graduate from the Applied Tech High School. We had 26 graduates, half of whom graduated with their associate's degree. This school, and Applied Health, and hopefully one will launch in the near future, is a high school opportunity for our kids to gain very valuable college credits so that they have the opportunity to be less encumbered by debt when they come out of college. They can go ahead and have up to half of their college career done and paid for by the time that they finish high school. It is this school in general focuses on applied manufacturing and preparing our kids for the careers of tomorrow. And so to Dr. Lerner, to those on this board who helped visualize this, to all of the educators who put their time and love into these kids, this first class of pioneers is one to really be congratulated. And also, way of congratulating, we had 3 very important retirements this past week, which were sad losses for all of us because they are so intrinsic to the fiber of what gets done here. Our Inspector General, John Libretti, announced his retirement. Gina King, who was here for 27 years, and Marianne O'Connor, who was here for 39 years, all retired. Their expertise is going to be missed, but they have definitely set the bar high and have been shining examples for those who come behind them for real integrity in the workplace, and we will profoundly miss them. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Chairwoman.
Freeholder, sir. Freeholder Amoroso?
Okay, thank you. A couple of weeks ago, I was part of the Community Development Block Grant Bus Tour. We go to various sites that the federal dollars funneled through the county pay for improvements at our nonprofits. And the tour did a special focus on Glen Rock, which has so much beautiful special needs housing and veterans housing. And the wonderful story behind this is a lot of this started with just one person. The mayor, a number of years back, Vince Barra, he kicked it off. And now Glen Rock is really a model for other towns that want to have inclusive housing in their boundaries. And it's beautiful stuff, really beautiful. I also attended as surrogate substitute for my friend Tracy Zur, the Wyckoff LGBTQ celebration. It was not a fundraising. Some of the participants actually wore the LGBTQ flag because the town council was hesitant about doing a flag raising. But again, this is all to make clear to our young people that we love them exactly the way they are and that they should love themselves. There's no reason not to, no reason for shame. I went to, along with Chairwoman Ortiz, the Bergenfield 15th birthday kickoff celebration day, where we all stood in the shape of a giant bee, and they shot it from a drone, shot a photo from a drone above. And I made mention of our leading 125th. Made mention of our leading Bergenfield native, Tom Sullivan. I also spoke at the Bergen County Academy's graduation, where we said we are so proud of them, so proud of our schools, and we do expect great things from them, and there are so many challenges we need them to fix. I attended a meeting with Sheriff Anthony Curitan and African-American pastors. And this is all part of the sheriff's effort to reach out to so many different communities and tell them he wants to hear from them. Finally, yesterday, I guess it was, I went to the Lodi Town Council reorganization. Their new mayor is Scott Luna. Their new deputy mayor is Vinnie Martin. And Scott Luna apparently is from 5 generations of Lodi mayors. Quite an accomplishment. Lodi's a great town. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I don't want to repeat too many things, but I'll go back at Flag Day, since you had mentioned Flag Day. And on Flag Day, we actually had the opening of the Emerson Golf Course. And at the same time, we also had a ceremony in memory of Randall Carlton, who was the only soldier of Vietnam who was killed at 18 years old, who was the only one from Pascack Valley who had signed on to go to the Vietnam War. So we had a nice memorial service for him there with his plaque, and we also, which is placed right in front of the Emerson Golf Course. And we had a beautiful opening, which they've done an unbelievable job with parks. They really have with that beautiful course. We also had I also wanted to thank Governor McGreevey and Reverend Bolivar Flores in regards to the reentry program. They do an unbelievable job. They opened their offices early last year here in Bergen County, and I know all my colleagues on the board, we all definitely are big advocates to giving them a second chance, especially because they really prepare them. They get all sorts of, I guess, of getting them, when they come out, they get trained and prepared to go into the workplace. So I give them a lot of kudos to everyone involved because it really changes the lives. We heard the testimonials from 3 different people that were part of the reentry program and how much it changed their lives. So I just want to thank Governor McGreevy for really taking this on and being such an advocate. I also want to thank the Hispanic committee that we started our first Bergen County Caribbean American Day, which turned out to be a very nice event. And we were able to put it together, even though it felt like the Caribbean in here was so hot. It really was. It was kind of funny. But we had a great event, and looking forward, we're already working on Simón Bolívar Day, which is going to be on July 30th. We're trying to be inclusive of all the different Hispanic, different countries that bring so much to the county. So we're definitely going to be celebrating 6 countries that day. So that should be a fun event. Welcome everybody. It's going to be at 5:30 here on July 30th. I also had the privilege of presenting an open space check to Fair Lawn for the renovations to Memorial Park Pool, of which we also attended the fireworks on Monday. What a beautiful, beautiful place that they have there. So I was glad to be able to present that check to them. I also attended the Bergenfield 125th anniversary, which was a great celebration. It brought the whole community together. And Mary, she took over your boss, she took over your place. She gave us a whole history on Bergenfield. I also had the privilege. I also had the privilege to speak at the Bergen Tech Teterboro graduation. There was 168 graduates. It was wonderful, just from the valedictorian to salutatorian and the principal. It was definitely a beautiful event.
It was great.
And we went with Freeholder Voss and Freeholder Gans, and that was definitely a wonderful experience. And I think I'm wrapping it up, and I would also like to thank, oh, wait, I forgot. I also had a ceremony in which I presented commendations to all high school students throughout Bergen County that they were doing their artwork depicting the struggles of the Korean independence, which we had them all on display in the hallway here on the 5th floor. And wonderful students. They gave great speeches. It was definitely a beautiful ceremony. Great part of that ceremony. And I guess that's a wrap. So I want to wish everyone a happy 4th and a safe 4th of July to everyone. Thank you. Okay. There being nothing further to come before the meeting, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned at 7:51 PM.